to this is fucked up. Hey, you don't know it, but everybody listens to the shows know it. So when I tried to commit suicide, I took a whole bottle of 800 milligram ibuprofen.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'm 37 now, so I'd have been 22, 23. Yeah. So like I was just in a coma. And not even like a good coma. Like I could still hear everything. I could still feel everything. I knew all the conversations that was going on around me. Like prescription grade 800 milligram ibuprofen. The only reason why I'm still here is because I'm fucking stupid. Like this didn't take anything that I was supposed to, which is great for me. But like, it's just funny that you said that.
You know what? And the way I see stuff like that, like I hear a lot of people tell me stories like that. I've got my own personal story like that. And it's one of those of like, wow, I fucked that up.
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
glad.
now, it's like everything happens for a reason because who knows? I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now. All
Well,
these people
I
because
know, and that's like one of the things I focus on this show, and like this will probably it's probably goes either people either like this about me or they really are going to hate this. You might hate me for this. What I'm about to say. Okay, you're a civil servant, right?
Mhm.
We do a lot of stuff with military, right? Some people are meant to serve in a different way,
Mhm.
and the person you lost, in my opinion, has the opportunity to serve forever.
I actually said something similar right after he died. And I said, as much as I hate what
Yeah.
happened, I hate that he's not here. I know there's a lesson somewhere
Yeah.
in there. I don't know what it is yet.
Well, you're doing it. Like that's the thing that people miss about stuff like this. Like there's been people I've met. There's been people that I've met. Damn, I'm crying. There's been people that I've met over the past 14 years that has made me realize that sometimes the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the best thing that's ever happened for you. And it's the thing that is going to make you who you're supposed to be and give you your purpose. Like there's a group of guys that are sponsors on this show, but they're friends. They're called Blazer 88. They're a mental health organization, and they have a gala or whatever that I'm hosting coming up in this month, actually October 26th in Indianapolis. But their organization started because one of their friends that they served with in the military killed himself and they wanted to be there. So like they took dude's pain and turned it into their purpose. But that dude will forever be serving and helping his brothers for eternity. Like he couldn't serve no more in this life and couldn't help nobody no more in his physical form, but his spirit will forever be helping. And that's the same thing here is his physical form isn't here, but the fact that you're doing this and like right now you're still pissed. Like let's just be real with it.
oh,
It hasn't turned into a purpose yet. But the way I look at things is what if and I haven't had one of these on the show, by the way. If anybody comes up and does this, like, and I just am, and I know they've got to be out there. I just don't know of one because we haven't been part of it. But like, what if you're the person because of him that starts an organization that helps first responders, EMS, know that it's okay to not be okay? That starts really doing that. Like
it's
that's where my heart is. Like that's I don't think I refuse to see somebody like him or other people that we've lost to suicide. Like the thing with suicide, people don't want to die, they're tired of living. And there's not enough folks that don't get that. Like they're just tired of life. They don't want to leave you. They don't want to leave their kids. They don't want to leave their loved ones. They just are tired of feeling that way. And that's why they take that way out. They wish they could still be here. And that's where I just have it in my head that we're supposed to pick up those pieces. You said earlier about the pieces. or whatever with him. And to me, that's like, damn, that's hindsight. That's like maybe he's given you the opportunity to do the thing that you're supposed to do with your life. Like he's given you the piece that you needed to not just help people that are injured in car wrecks or injured in whatever in shootings, but maybe he's giving you the pieces that you need to help people mentally, to help not just them, but generational help. Like that's where I just there's a bright side to it if you allow yourself to see it. Like, does it suck and you're mad? Fuck yeah. You ought to be mad. You ought to be mad as hell. And the rest of the story we'll finish it in a second. But like I just don't think it's a mistake. Like I don't. I think that, like I said, the earthly form gets tired, but that don't mean
He
your spirit does.
the one thing him and his mom, like my I talk to his mom regularly, and the one thing that we both she worded it better, like I couldn't figure out how to put it in the words. And she said, I don't want his death to be his legacy. She goes, I want the way that he loved people to be his legacy.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you say that because there's a part of the story that will that part's probably going to hit a little bit harder than some of the other stuff as far as like finding that purpose and
Yeah.
finding that, how do I move on,
Yeah.
what piece am I picking up to take with me. And it's true, like everything happens for a reason. It's shitty.
Yeah.
I would give just about anything to have him here still. I know his mom would, I know his brothers would. um but at the same time, like he was such a loving person and so caring and protective and just kind-hearted that, how many people have you heard say suicide selfish?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is. I mean, that's the shitty thing about it. But once again, it's like I said a while ago, people have to realize they're not doing it to hurt anybody. It's you have to know the person's mindset. Everybody that's ever been there, they're just tired of feeling the way they're feeling. They don't want to die, but you don't know another option.
So I had that same mindset, and before all of this, I've run several suicide calls, and I'm like, how fucking selfish do you have to be?
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it wasn't right of me to make that judgment at
Yeah.
all, but I'm human.
Yeah.
After all this, and this is one thing that I talked to his mom about, is Nolan was such a selfless person. Like he was not selfish. I mean, didn't have a selfish bone in his
Yeah.
body. Like it was borderline annoying how like good he was. And the one thing I told her, I said, being the last person that talked to him, I said, I can tell you right now, I said, that man, truly, based on our conversation, he truly thought that ending his own life was protecting the rest of us.
Yeah.
And he really thought that he was such a burden that that was the only way out. I said,
Yeah.
I will never look at another suicide and just assume that it was selfish. I said, and I've done that for a lot of years, and I
You got
regret
it.
that mindset.
Okay, you gotta be careful going down that road. And I ain't gonna because like I don't know. I'm a Christian,
Mm.
like, and I'm not trying to go down that road with anybody. Everybody's got their own beliefs in it or whatever, right? But selfish probably isn't the right word. All right. Selfish is a very hard word anyway,
Mm.
right? But you do take your feelings over. All right. So what keeps you here? Let me ask you this. What keeps you here?
I got three
What's
babies.
all right? My daughter. Okay. There's nothing in this world, and I'm not putting him down, by the way. So please don't take it that way, right? It's I can't make my life isn't my own. Okay. Like I can't. Like if I was to do that, the second I even get that thought in my head, I automatically think about what it's going to do to her. Right. That's probably the same thing you do, right? That's what most of us do. Once again, that pain overtakes you. You don't probably think about that at the moment. And like they probably do think that the burden of them being gone is does help you. Like you don't have to deal with them anymore. But I do think that the fact that they think that their pain is over outweighs everything else. That
That that I
that
can
that's probably a better way than saying selfish. Like I don't think they want to hurt anybody. I don't think they want to hurt a family member, a loved one, or whatever. But I think they're more concerned with their pain being over. That's why I think selfish gets thrown around right there.
Well, and with that too, he was drinking excessively that day,
Yeah.
so he was not thinking logically long term. I mean, how many of us are logical when
Oh,
blitzed?
I'm not. I'm not. I've punched out windows in vehicles. I've been a psychopath.
Oh, I've done the most unhinged, out of pocket bullshit that if my dad sees this, no, he didn't. I would do dumb shit.
Yeah.
I have done stuff that probably should have put me in jail for like public intoxication. I should
One
have put numerous charges
thousand
probably.
percent. 1,000%. We've all
So I
done it.
mean, he just based on like my experience with him
Yeah.
and the things that he was saying, I could see the pain on him. So like I
Yeah.
get what you're saying, but I think in his mind he truly thought that he was a problem.
Yeah.
And like seeing him, like the stuff that he was saying, like there's so many things that he said while we are on that phone call that I don't automatically go to that judgment of like
Yeah.
selfish or like I'm understanding like the pain behind it
Yeah.
as far as what I saw that day, what I've experienced on my own, talking to people like you, like
Yeah.
it's changed my perspective a little bit instead of just jumping to that conclusion of like, oh, how selfish can you be?
Well, the only reason why I even say it that way, and I want people to kind of think along the lines of it kind of being selfish, is because I want people to think about what it's going to do to their families if they're in that situation.
I can tell you the reason I started telling this story, and it's become kind of therapeutic for me, obviously. So,
Yeah.
but it's I want people to understand, especially people like first responders and veterans, to see the ugliest side of this shit on a regular basis. That one, you're not alone.
Yep.
Two, I've got a face and a name just like yours. Like I'm somebody's daughter, I'm somebody's mother. Like you are not by yourself. This is not uncommon. Like I have days like the first couple of days after he died, I remember laying in bed and I'm just a sobbing mess. It was like the first time I slept in our bed without him. That I'm like, come get me, you motherfucker. How dare you? You left me in this dumpster fire ass planet by myself. How dare you? Like I was angry. And I was at the point where I wasn't necessarily suicidal, but I was at the point where I was like, if I got in a car accident tomorrow, I'm not fighting to stay. Like I just shift that perspective because it's like, okay, what's gonna happen to my
That's not, yeah, that's not suicide though.
yeah. Because I
You know,
promise a lot of people that I
well,
was not.
a lot of us, including myself, have those thoughts to where you're tired of being here. It's the same thing, but you're not going to do it yourself.
Like your soul's exhausted.
Yeah, you're just exhausted. I trust me. Especially like I'll be the first one, and I've talked about it very openly over the past couple months. Over the summer, I had a mental breakdown. I had to quit doing the show for a good month and a half. Like I did the bare minimum to keep my career going. I had a full blown mental breakdown. I tried several different substances that I had never tried before as coping mechanisms. Um I lost my shit. I legit thought I was getting married on a Tuesday to losing what I thought was my world on a Wednesday, pretty much like this. Not a light switch went away. Our light switch got flipped off. But I you when you get to that point and you don't understand that your joy does not exist because of that person. Your joy does not exist because of a thing. A person cannot take away what they did not give you. It takes learning. It takes so much. It takes just so much to self diving into yourself, self discovery.
It's like
You,
self-soothing.
yeah, you're gonna have those thoughts, and it's okay to have those thoughts. The thing is, you're supposed to cry out to God or whatever you believe in. It could be in the universe. I don't give a damn what you believe in. But you're supposed to get exhausted because the thing is, there's a Bible verse that I did not know until a couple months ago, and I'm gonna mess it up so bad because I'm the worst at quoting shit anyway. But it's the God loves the brokenhearted. Do you know why the God loves the brokenhearted? Because it's more pieces for him to give for you to give him. Like it's when you're at rock bottom, like when you have nothing else to offer, when you are just destroyed, like you know where you're supposed to go. Like a lot of us, it takes that. Now, in order to get there, you got to go through some hell. You got to go through some shit. And you're going to have those moments to where, man, if a transfer truck was to hit me right now while I'm, riding my bike up the road, it ain't suicide, but damn, I'm thinking about it. Like, I ain't going to veer. Yeah, I might take my helmet off real fast and jerk that some bitch. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's okay. It's just you're exhausted, but you haven't quit. I want anybody to know that's listening to me. It's okay to be exhausted. It's just not okay to quit. The only way you lose at life, and this is a sensitive show. Like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to anybody with this. The only way you lose is if you quit.
And
Like
it's
it.
okay to take care of yourself. It's
Yes.
okay. And that is one thing that this has taught me, that is it is
Yes.
okay to take a step back. And even if it's just I'm just gonna lay in bed. Like I've even called my ex-husband because my girls are a little bit younger, and I'm like, hey, I'm not okay right
Yeah.
now. Can you keep them an extra day? And he will. Like
Yeah.
he's been really understanding through all this. And like I've learned it's okay. It's okay to not be okay, and it's
Yeah.
okay to actually take the time to, even if you're just laying in bed all day long and you don't even want to get up, like other than to take a piss and that's it.
Yeah,
That's okay.
don't do that. Don't do that. And I'll tell you why you don't do that. Okay? This is
I'm saying once in a while.
once in a while it's okay to have a lazy day.
Yes.
This is why you don't do it if you're fighting depression.
Yeah.
Okay. That's letting that depression monster fucking win. Like staying in a dark room, not getting sunlight, whatever. It's either like if you know you're battling depression, it's a mindset. It's either you're going to let that demon control you or you can control that demon. The second you start knowing your triggers and the second you start knowing, like, because I promise you, I'm just like you. I'm just like everybody else listening to this. I get in my funks. The difference between me now and me before I knew what the hell was going on with my brain is I'd let that funk take over me to where now it's like, man, I just want to lay in this bed, dude. I'm gonna watch the same fucking thing. I done watched 100 times. I ain't turning the lights on. I'm keep my phone on vibrate. I ain't talking to people that want to call and check on me or whatever. Now I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna take my ass outside and walk and I'm gonna get some sunlight and I'm gonna be thankful that I'm here. And today might not be my day, but tomorrow might. Like
See, I'm
it,
the opposite. I dive into keeping myself busy to the point
yeah,
where I will work myself. I'll work 120 hours in a week. And
yeah,
it's to the point where I get so, and it's just a way to block it out.
yeah,
Like I won't sit and that's one thing, like with my therapy and stuff, that she's the one who kind of gave me that green light of, hey, one day a month, it's okay to just
yeah,
sit like with your emotions, because I don't handle my emotions very well. I don't do the cry stuff. Like I get angry and then I just, throw myself into work. And she's the one that taught me that it's okay to sit there
yeah.
and sit there and cry. Because I would hold, like she even said, she's like, you've been holding back 20 years worth of tears. She's like,
Oh
that shit's
yeah,
gonna come to the surface. And it did. And I've learned that it's okay to, one, tell people no, I don't want to go out, no, I'm gonna stay home, whatever the case is. But I've sat there and I've like let myself feel it, like the grief, and it sucks. And it makes me want to crawl into a hole and just not face the world. But I have to sit there and at least process it, or try to. And that's usually when I have her on speed dial. But it's, you got the two polar opposites, where I'll throw myself into work to the point, like I will work myself until I get like bronchitis or strep
yeah,
throat, or like I am just like, even after Nolan's death, and yes, it was the stress of his death. I lost
yeah,
like 35 pounds in about 2 weeks.
yeah.
Like I was unhealthy looking, and I realized that it's, me staying busy. Yes, it helps my mind temporarily, but I do have to face the music on that one, and not just, let me just bury it.
You can't push it down. I mean, I remember I made a post, a stupid fucking post that I look back at now after I went through this breakup, and it was like, this is the first time that I've went through a breakup, and it felt like I'm grieving somebody. But it did. Like it felt like I was literally grieving someone, and I look back how stupid that is now.
It's
But
not the, it's
it kind
hardest
of is.
thing.
It kind of
No,
is.
the
It
hardest
kind of is
thing,
now. It kind of is now.
but the hardest thing to grieve is somebody that's still alive.
Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, because there's some.
I went through that, and now I see him, and I'm like, I would hit you with a car. I'm not gonna lie, but I get where you're coming from because it's a form of grief. It's a
Yeah,
form of sadness.
it is. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, eh. But my point was that like it's okay to grieve. Like everybody does it their own way. Like, but there are certain things that you should take. You completely screwed me up with that because I missed my point. But I think my point was it's okay to let those emotions out. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to however you see fit to handle it. Like if however you feel comfortable handling your emotions, your grief, whatever your anger, like just don't be violent. Violent's probably the only one you don't be. But like I'm a crybaby. I mean, I'm a titty baby, dude. Like I am a crybaby bitch. I also got these hands though, so I dare anybody to pick on me. But but yeah, like
Don't cry while you're beating their ass.
I've done it. Like, if you want to see me irate, like people still give me shit. Like, I am so much calmer now that I have my daughter. My daughter's turned 13. But even back before then, if you saw me like my eyes get watery that I'm so mad, like I'm finna start crying and I'm gonna beat your ass while I'm crying. Like I'm a
It's
crybaby
funny. It's
bitch.
just the way you said it's funny.
I'm a crybaby bitch.
And you know what? And like that's one thing, I see, especially a lot of people in like my field. I see so many people that they're like, they run some like trauma filled, like, a dead baby kind of deal. And it's like,
No,
are you okay? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And they're on to the next one. I'm like, I know you ain't fucking fine because I've run
no,
those.
there's no, you're not, you can't be. I've got a buddy, his name's Daniel Riley. He is one of my good friends. Uh, and he's a firefighter, he's a chief. Well, I think he's a chief. He'll probably get pissed because he'll be the first one to listen to this episode. But he's a chief up in Macon. And I've seen him talk about bad calls, like going on fucked up calls. And I've seen when it's done to him. And I've seen him express some emotions and feelings, not a lot. And in my head, just when I've seen him do it, it's like, do you know what a fucking train wreck I would be? Like, I'm comfortable with letting my emotions out. Like, I've learned to do it in a healthier way, not healthy, but healthier. And it's like, I don't know how people do it. Your brain isn't, God bless you, all you first responders from the bottom of my heart, every fucking one of y'all, because you're not supposed to do that. That you're not. Your brain, there's nothing about you that you are genetically made. Your brain is not wired that way to see this shit. You're not. That's why you have PTSD. That's why you have depression. That's why you have anxiety. That's why you have all of these things. You did not have this shit 1,000 years ago. You didn't. All this shit is new age shit. And
Mhm.
it's because your brain is not fucking wired for it.
We're all a little unhinged, anyways, is what keeps us going back to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, God bless y'all because we need y'all more than fucking anybody else. But like, yeah, like you're not, there's no way you're okay.
And there are good days, and even before all of this, you have your good days and bad days where it's like the way my therapist explained it was it's something like a picture that's like pixelated.
Yeah.
And you have all these little pixels, and then when you get those little flashbacks or the anxiety kicks up, whatever, it's because all those pixels are like snapping together real quick. And it's like, bam, here's your clear image. Even if it's like a subconscious thing, I can't
Yep.
remember the word that she used, but that's how she explained it. And it makes sense because I can go run the most fucked up call you can think of, and I'll be fine. I rarely cry at work. Um, Actually, the first time I cried at work was after Nolan, and that was a fucked up scenario, but for different reasons. But you can go run the most fucked up thing possible, and I'm like, can we go get tacos afterwards? Because I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna deal with this later at home, which is the most unhealthy thing that we do. I'm
Mm-mm.
like, I'll deal with this at home when I'm by myself, and I'm either gonna cry in the shower, or I'm gonna take my little night meds and go get a good night's sleep, and then I'll deal with it tomorrow. It's always I'll deal with it later, and that's where we fuck up.
Well, you've conditioned yourself to it. That's your job. That's your profession. A normal person couldn't do it.
I mean, we're trained to be desensitized
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. You've normalized
And
it too.
we do. And it's the one thing I've learned as far as like how much death I see in my life or like in my job is like, this is a part of the circle of life. Yes, we all have this image of, we're supposed to be 80, 90 years old, laying in bed surrounded by our family when we go, right? That's not the case for everyone. And it's one thing, it's kind of helped me accept the fact that anything could happen tomorrow,
Yeah.
you know, like it's just, that's part of life. And I will, somebody said that death was nature's cancel culture. And it made me laugh so hard because like, it's not funny, but it's true. Like it just, it
Yeah.
is what it is. But it's, it's something that everybody has to deal with in some capacity. We just have it like every day.
Yeah. I mean, y'all are the only profession that y'all and morticians that have to deal with death every single day. It's not natural. There's no one in history that has had to deal with it every single day. Like it's not a thing. I guess doctors and nurses and all that shit. But like no one has ever had to. And it's unnatural. I mean, God, once again, God bless you guys. But it is unnatural. Y'all should be fucked up.
Yeah.
But,
And we are. And
yeah.
that's where it's frustrating that like, you hear comments like that from, quote unquote normal people. And it's like, why can't the other people around us see that and see that we need more help than what we're getting? And I don't mean just at work. I mean like the actual mental health resources of, because I know when all this happened, like, you know, I was never truly offered actual resources
Yeah.
like at all, which we'll get into that. That's where the shit gets
Yeah.
real messy. But I didn't know who to call. I didn't know who to reach out to other than my counselor. And she's an absolute gem of a human being. Like I love that woman to no end. She's got me through some of the hardest shit in my life. And it's we have that resource. But if somebody had come up to me and said, "Hey, here's a list of people who say they deal with this or deal with this," like most of the resources we have is catered to, I want to say like job related
Yeah.
stress, but mine's like a combo.
Yeah.
It was a personal thing. I happened to be on shift. I was the provider dropped on the call. Like mine's just a chaotic fucking mess.
Do
And
you
is a
remember
very
do you
situation.
remember when I told you earlier? I don't know if we was recording yet, but like you like you the person who knows that there's something that's supposed to be done and doesn't do it, they're waiting on somebody else. Like that person's failing to act. Like I think you found your purpose, dude. Like I'm not playing. Like I'm being 100% sincere with you right now. You know because you're in the field what you actually need. Who else better to help people in that field than somebody who's in that field that knows what you guys need? What better way? Like that's I'm telling you, with pain comes purpose. And it's just how you go about it, dude. Like you're sitting here literally, whether you know what you just said or not, when you listen back to this, you just did a business plan for, I'm not playing. Like you
No,
literally,
I
you literally you just did word for word how you can help your brothers and sisters that are in the same field as you because you know what they need. Now, the thing is, if you fail to act, like, because there's going to be, even after this, I'll go ahead and tell you, I know exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get somebody that's the EMT or another first responder now that's going to reach out to you and they're going to want to know how you're doing so well.
I have one. This story actually sparked a conversation with another
Yeah.
coworker that her mom committed suicide, and we are in the process of getting a game plan together for a support system for
Yeah.
our area.
Yeah. I'm one of these people before we get back to the story. Like I'm one of these people. I used to say I don't believe in therapy. I think it works for some people. I've even experienced a little bit of it, and I don't think it's bad. But I'm a support system person. I like support systems. I like to be around people that's been through the same shit I've been through, so I know how they made it through, and I can actually look. I don't like somebody just because you got a degree, you telling me how I'm supposed to feel. I want the person who's experienced the same fucked up shit I've done to tell me how they did, so they didn't feel how I feel. Like that's my shit. Like that's how you build. Like that's a locker room environment to me. That's brothers and sisters. That's battlefield shit. Like I love that shit.
That's stressful too. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
my therapist, I love her. I can talk to her. I can tell
Yeah.
her how she hasn't like threw me in some grippy socks yet. I have no idea. but she is very helpful and she's very much like that one-on-one, but she's the support system mindset.
Yeah.
So I know not everybody has that, but I mean, the running joke that we had with the medic that I talked to that I work with at my other job, we said that we were going to call it crying and coffee, like cars and coffee.
Yeah.
For first responders to show up that are like fucked up. And I was like, can we put Bailey's in it? And she was like, yeah.
There's
It's
nothing wrong with that though. Like, look, I have this thing that I do, and it's God. It's not me. I swear to you, like I sit here and I make jokes about it all the time. I call myself when I'm joking with my friends, call myself like the barstool guru or the barstool preacher, whatever. I'll go to a bar and I'll be having a good time. And because I'm so open about talking about my faith and talking about my mental health stuff, it never fails that there'll be somebody that'll come up and talk to me over drinks that would have never talked to a preacher or talked to a counselor or whatever. And by the time we get done having a conversation, 9 times out of 10, we're crying. 9 times out of 10, there's a prayer being said. It's in the worst place possible that you're at a bar doing it and there's loud music and alcohol and all that kind of stuff flowing. But in my mind, like Jesus loved the sinners. That's what he was. Like that's where he went around. Like he didn't just hang around like the good people. He wanted to be getting dirty. He loved that stuff. He wanted to save those type of people. And I think it's our mission in life, regardless of what it is. The stuff that's been put on your heart, you don't have to be a preacher. You ain't got to be a therapist. You ain't got to be whatever. We were not put here to make money. We were put here to be helpful. We were put here to praise. We were put here to worship, but we were put here to be good to one another. If you see somebody that's, whether it's a stranger or somebody you love, and they're struggling, you're supposed to be that hand. You're supposed to be that helping hand, and you're supposed to be someone that they need to cry that night, fucking cry. If they need a hug, let them hug. If they need to know that they're not alone. Like
I
people,
had a patient call 911 that we showed up on, and I'm like, what's going on? And she's crying, and she goes, I just need somebody to hug me.
yeah,
And I did. I sat there and I hugged her,
yeah,
and I had this big old tear stain on my job shirt, and that's all she needed.
yeah,
Until I took a picture of her heart, and then she needed to go to the hospital. But that's not the point. But she called because she needed a hug.
yeah. That's
You
all it
know,
is. And I'm telling you, by the next time, if I was to fast forward you in 2 years, I won't put pressure on you for a year. If I was fast forward you 2 years, I'm telling you, like I'm just gonna beat it in your head. With pain comes purpose. With pain comes purpose. You're
Mhm.
not always where you want to be, but you're always where you're supposed to be. And when you start to realize like the bad shit, I hate telling it to people. I hate saying that the worst thing in your life is probably going to be the thing that made you. But it's the truth. It's going to be your purpose. I did not think when I tried to commit suicide in 2010 that it would be my career. I didn't think that. I have not had a real job in almost 10 years between working in country radio and working in social media and having a podcast. But the second that I opened up about my mental health struggles is the second my life changed. This every time I do an episode like this, my life changes. Every single time something happens. And that's if you ever want to know if you're on the right road in life, don't look for big victories. Look for little wins. And like these things like this are pointing you in the right direction. Like you're right where you're supposed to be. We look for big victories too many times. You don't need big victories, you need little victories.
It's funny you say that because I actually I started focusing on like the smaller wins. Just
Yeah.
it was they pile up so much faster and they end
Yeah.
up being so much greater than even the losses sometimes, like, which that's another part of when I went back to work. That's the call that shifted my perspective on that. And people ask me, which I just had not too long ago, a guy asked me, he said, what's your biggest win, like what's your biggest save? It was nothing crazy. It was on a little girl trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And it was there's more chaos to it, but it ties in with the rest of this. But that is to this day my biggest win. And I've worked gunshots, stabbings, cardiac arrest. Like, I've worked the most chaotic, fucked up calls you can think of. And that to this day is my biggest win. And I
You,
think it will be probably for the rest of my life.
you know what you'll be, and this is going to get real preachery for a second. And I can't let go say this, but it's on my heart to say it. Like, that's going to be your thing, though. Like, I'm desensitized. Like, I used to, when I would even say the word suicide, it would taste like shit coming out of my mouth. It's not taboo. It doesn't taste like shit coming out of my mouth anymore. When I talk about mental health or I talk about it, it's a second language to me now. It doesn't hurt. Like you ever talked about, like, I still can't talk about, like, I don't know what would be something I can't talk. Something I can't openly talk about sex in a room full of a lot of people, like, because I'm shy and shit. Like, I can't do that. But I can sit here and talk about suicide, and I can talk about that kind of stuff like it's a second language, to where I don't look over to see if you're uncomfortable. It doesn't bother me. The taboo's been took out of it for me. That's how I know that's part of my purpose. You, even with that little girl, that's going to be your thing. It's good. And that's what's going to keep piling up with you. I can just tell, like, that's when you go through an incident like you went through with him, it's just going to put you on the road that you're supposed to be on. And you're just every time, like, it ain't just you on those calls. Like, it's not like it's you and him on those calls. From now on, like, and but that, like I said, just because the physical body isn't here doesn't mean the spirit is.
It's funny that you say that. And oh my God, I'm gonna cry again. Um, I've never told anybody this. You were my first one I tell this to. That call, which we'll get into those details. I shit you not. I got in the truck with that little girl to take her to the hospital, and I could smell his cologne.
Yeah, tell you.
And it threw me for, and mind you, this was about 4 days after his funeral that this happened.
Yeah,
And that's when I knew. I was like, and of course, like I'm that person that, like, yes, I think there's something after we die. So I bitch at him all the time.
yeah,
And I told him he wasn't getting out of this relationship that easy.
yeah.
I'm still gonna drive him nuts. But there are times when I'm just like, you motherfucker, like, because I'm running crazy calls that I'm like, I don't know how I pulled that off. And like I'll think about it and I'm like, that's some fucking shit no one would have done. Like just little stuff like that. I know it sounds crazy, and there's some people are gonna think I'm
No,
absolutely.
yeah, you're not at all. Not even kind of crazy.
I mean, I
Uh,
am for other reasons, but it's those things, like those little things I try to hold on to, and I'm trying to keep the good and trying to change my perspective to something more positive, because I was in such a negative mindset, obviously rightfully so, after he died, that I hated being around anybody.
yeah,
I hated my life for months. And we just hit 6 months since he died.
yeah,
And, I still have my good and bad days, but I'm trying to like compile that good stuff
yeah.
and keep it, because it's the good I can hold on to that keeps me going to the next day. And my kids deserve to see a happy mom and all this stuff. And I'm trying to keep that going for them.
Yeah, I don't think you need to even worry about the bad days, in all honesty, because you're gonna have this aha moment. Everybody has an aha moment when they figure out their purpose. And I think that you're toying with it already. Like, there's some of the shit that you say, like, we don't ever want it, like, not, you don't ever want to admit what you're thinking. You don't ever want to admit the idea you got in your head, because you're worried about what people are going to say. Like, you don't ever want to be like, oh, this is what I want to do, because you're like, somebody's going to be like, this is fucking stupid, or somebody's already doing it, but I think I can do it better, whatever. Like, why do I need to do it? Like, I get why people are like that, but it's stupid to me. You're going to have this aha moment, and it's going to be where it clicks why it happened to him, why it had such an impact on you, why y'all met in the first place. And it's just going to keep growing to where your bad days, every time you start to have a bad day, you're just going to be like, it's not a bad day. I just got to remember this had to happen. And it sucks. It sucks because someone lost a loved one. A lot of people lost a loved one. But without losing that loved one, how many people, let's say you turn this into an organization or whatever, and you help EMTs and you help first responders, how many people's lives potentially could you save because one person took theirs? That
It could be astronomical.
Yeah,
It,
that dude is working overtime with his spirit, with his body not being here.
he was one of those people that you didn't, at least I didn't, he didn't really have bad days that I saw.
Yeah,
Like he just fucking rolled with it. Just it is
yeah,
what it is, right? And so one thing I've learned as far as, now that I've noticed that I have more good days and bad days, when those bad days do start to creep up, I'm almost like embracing it because it's just proving that we had a relationship and a bond and the kind of love that most people don't get in any lifetime, let alone this one. And it's kind of like those days, those bad days, it's like that's just how much I miss him.
yeah.
That's just how much I wish, where I could be like, hey, let me tell you about this fucking work drama I found out. Like, there's some stuff like I even will still reach for my phone on occasion and I'm just like, oh, Nolan would fuck. Like I can't text him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I try to see it as it just shows how much I loved him, how much I do still love him. And I was lucky enough to get to experience that for even just a small portion of my life that most people don't get.
Yeah.
So it's those bad days are kind of being embraced, if that makes sense.
That does. It does. All right. Keep telling the story. We're going to keep just talking.
We're
We're just going to keep talking good shit.
just gonna have to have like regular check-ins now. So
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, like, that's the thing. And like, we'll get off topic again, but fuck it. That's what I want everybody listening to understand. And I don't hate it because it is my faith. God don't make mistakes. The good Lord doesn't. We make mistakes. I didn't know you before yesterday. I
Mhm.
didn't know who you were before yesterday. The dude who hooked us up yesterday was somebody who followed me that I think I talked to once or twice before. I was on live. I was on live. I was saying how I needed to have some extra shows this month. He was like, hey, I got this girl. All right. A, B, C, D, all in a row. Somehow, because of God's timing, not ours, you'll help somebody by sharing this story, right? Like, that is what all this is about. So, checking in with people and like doing what feels right. And even when stuff's painful, sharing that pain. There's a lot of people that go through the worst fucking things and they keep it to themselves. You didn't go through it for no reason. You didn't go through losing a kid. You didn't go through just cancer. You didn't go through all the fucking bad things in this world not to survive it and pay it forward. You didn't. You're a survivor. You are meant to be something. I don't care what anybody says. With that old saying that God gives his toughest battles to the strongest soldiers. People laugh at that. I know they do. I've used to laugh at it. I'd be like, I don't want to do this. This sucks. This is way too much. Like, give it to somebody else. But when you realize that he had to give it to you to make you who you are, because nobody else could handle it. Like, you're handling your shit so good that I'll check in with you every week. We can do a show every week because I know that somebody's life will get saved and they won't feel alone and they won't feel alienated because you're being open about it and sharing his story and just you're helping people.
Well, it's funny that you say timing. The guy that reached out to you for me, we had just started chatting. Like he's a new friend, and he works in a similar field to mine. And it was something about like past relationships, and I said, I can't complain about my last one. I said it was perfect, and I said that man treated me with the utmost respect and care, whatever. And he picked up on what I was saying, and he goes, "Is he still with us?" And I said, "No." And he goes, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he was actually the first stranger, technically,
Yeah.
that I actually, because I wrote out the story. And that was just like my therapy of, I need to get this out somewhere. And he was the first person that I didn't really know that well that I sent it to him. And his response was like, he was like, time out. I need a minute. Like, I got so many emotions going on. He's like, what the fuck? And we ended up having this good conversation about it. And again, he works in a similar field, so he kind of understood it. It's a little bit different for first responders, but they deal with stuff similar to ours. And I don't even know why I shared it with him. Like, I don't even know what made me, because normally I would
God,
no.
God, God. I can do it. I can do it all day. It's do it all day.
But it was
But
just, it was very, just now the domino, seeing the domino effect
yeah.
to being sitting right here now is
And
like, holy shit.
he don't make mistakes. I mean, we make mistakes, dude. Like that's the thing. It's and also I want anybody listening, like, you're not you don't have, and this is cliche, but without trials, you don't have like what is it? Without try what the hell does it go?
Without trials, you can't have tribulations.
Yeah, oh no,
Oh,
no, I've said it wrong. Without tests, you can't have testimony.
that
Like,
one.
yes, without tests, you can't have testimony. Like, you got to have a story. You can't help people without a story. Have you ever went to a movie and the movie was just monotone the whole time? Like, there's no,
I would leave.
you would leave, right?
I
Nobody
would
wants to watch that
leave.
shit. Nobody wants to watch a boring ass movie, right? Nobody's going to pay attention to that. They don't want that. That doesn't grab anybody. Like, nobody's going to resonate with that. No,
And I know
this,
a lot of people haven't like necessarily resonated with my story. They may resonate with like Nolan's side of it a little more. Like they resonate with some part of it, but I know everybody that I've talked to, like including my own close family, they're like, "Holy fuck, how are you still standing?" And I'm over here like,
yeah, because you're
spite
supposed to
at this
be.
point. I have no idea,
Because you're supposed to be. You're
and that's
supposed to be.
that's what I'm trying to like have other people understand. Why I started telling the story, not just to like people like my close circle, is because I want people to understand that, this does happen.
Yeah.
It happens more common than anybody thinks. Like we just had another firefighter in our service area. He worked the next city over and he committed suicide. And his story was very similar to what mine and Nolan's was. Like I believe his wife found him. I can't remember those details,
Yeah.
but my buddy was on that call and he called me immediately and he's still sitting on scene. He goes, I don't know who else to call. He was like, I'm so sorry to put this on you. I said, no, that's what friends are for, motherfucker. Like, give it to me.
Yeah.
And he got the vent session out and he's just like, I just don't understand.
Before you finish telling the story, y'all, I'm gonna recommend a movie to you and to anybody that's listening to this. There's a movie called MVP.
Mhm.
Watch it. It is about a dude who comes back from service. He gets hooked up with a professional athlete, and they start like this locker room environment because that's what makes it just makes everybody feel at home. Professional athletes mixing with soldiers, right? And it's all like brotherhood. That's what it's really based around. It's an amazing story. We've talked to the guy, we kind of fizzled out, but he was supposed to do the show that started the organization. But like, that's what you guys should do. Like, not with the professional athletes, but instead of it
We
being
talk them in too.
the what? Oh yeah, the
We
professional.
talk them in too.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, instead of it being like when you see these call numbers to where it's like, hey, call so and so if you're struggling with anxiety or depression. Wouldn't it just be so much better if you could call somebody that was an EMT and it was like in their spare time? Like you was on call for 2 or 3 hours in your spare time to where instead of them just calling you, they called another EMT that just knew what they were going through. Like if you started this whole ass
Like a buddy
Rolodex,
system.
yeah, buddy system.
Yeah. That's one thing I would love to see happen. And it may be my part of my goal that I've got going on right now, but it's, when I first went through all this, like I had my friends, I had my close friends, but nobody, they were so supportive and so caring. And I'm not saying they weren't by any means, but they didn't understand.
Yeah.
This wasn't just like, oh, my coworker, because there was layers to it. He's my coworker, he's my work family. We were friends for like a year and a half, 2 years before we started dating. Then you throw in the fact we had a whole relationship. Like, then I watched him shoot himself and then watched him take his last breath. Like it's like a layers to an onion at this point, but
Yeah.
nobody understood the whole, like, I mean, how do you explain your feelings when you watch the love of your life play Russian roulette and lose the game? Like it's just there's no way to, and I hope no one else knows what that feels like, which I'm sure there are people out there that do, and my heart breaks for them. But it's like they were so supportive, but they didn't fully understand where I was at.
You're
Other
the
than the
only.
fact that, Aaron came in and took, obviously, firearms, but
Yeah,
took my gun, unloaded it, hid it from me. Like, I was getting watched with time. They thought I was the next one to do it.
yeah,
And that's not where I was at. I just needed, I couldn't voice what I was feeling. I couldn't even figure out how I was feeling at the
yeah.
time.
You just have to tell yourself, even on the bad days, as fucked up as this is about to sound, that had to happen for your next chapter. And not only did it had to happen for your next chapter, but also for his next chapter. Whatever is going to happen through you is because of him. Like it's because of him. Like he will help more people not being here than he ever did being in the back of an ambulance.
I
Because
think
I'm
yeah,
telling you, you got it, dude. Like I'm telling you, I've seen people where you're at right now. All the organizations that we work with, whether it's Creative Vets or it's Mission 22 or Blazer 88 or Project K9 Hero or any of you others that I'm out there forgetting, like it took one person. It took one person to say, there needs to be something done. It needs to be. And I'm tired of seeing it happen to my brothers and sisters. I know what the issue is. Now it's time for me to take a stand. And every one of them have the same story that you have, that someone they loved did the same thing. And it gave them what they needed, the fire in their belly to make sure they saved as many people moving forward as possible. And I mean, it sucks. Like it does suck. It does. But at the same time, every one of those organizations that I just spoke of, at every event I've ever been to, or every time I've heard them speak, they always reference that person.
it does make sense. It's
Yeah.
heartbreaking, but it's also like his mom said, she doesn't want his death to be his legacy. She wants his life to be his legacy. And I
Yeah.
told her, I said, one comment she made to me was, there will never go a day will never go by that I don't talk about him.
Yeah.
I can't tell you, I don't even think I've ever had a day that has gone by that his name hasn't come up.
Yeah.
Or I've got his picture sitting right there as soon as I walk into my house, along with a couple other things. But my youngest daughter, she'll walk in and she'll be like, Nolan, like she's looking at his picture, and I'm like, where do you see him at? Like, she freaked me out the first time she did it, because she's little, and I'm like, you seeing something that's there that I'm not? But the running joke between me and him, because he was a little bit younger than me, he was like, I told him, I said, if I die first, just know I'm gonna haunt the absolute dog shit out of you. Like,
Yeah.
game over, bro. Like, I'm chasing you down the hallway as soon as you turn the
Yeah.
light off. And he would laugh. And then, our thing always, it was always till we're ghosts. It was never forever. It was till we're ghosts. And then beyond that too. And some weird stuff's happened in my house. And I'm like, you motherfucker. Like, can you stop scaring the shit out of me at least? Like, give me a warning. And then,
He
here,
just he just reminding you he's there with you. He's just letting you know he's right by your side.
yeah, I'm pretty sure he fucked with me all the time anyways. Like, we would pull pranks on each other all the time, or sneak up on each other. So I know he's doing the same thing now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll take it. If that's what I got for right now, I'll take it.
All right. So let's finish telling the story, because I think we've made everybody cry. I've made me cry 2 or 3 times. So let's finish. Let's tell the rest of the story.
There's me more tears to come.
Okay.
I can tell you. So we got to the debrief at home. Aaron saying how he's like, how many more of us have to fucking die before y'all give a shit? I was supposed to teach the next day. So we have training classes and whatnot, and I was supposed to teach the next day. And I'm that person that dives into work when I'm not doing well. And so I said, can I go in and teach? Keep my mind off it, whatever. Just give me something to do. Which in hindsight, was not the best choice, because again, we were about to break the news to my teenager that was here. And so they said no. They said that it was better that I'd go in and teach, or that I stayed home. Basically vetoed my idea, and I said, okay, I'll stay home. And so I was basically forced to take time off work. And in the midst of all that, they were telling about FMLA. I can't remember what the exact conversation was. I was in a daze, and that was the worst time to like get information on it. We took some time. We were kind of trying to figure out my next game plan and what my next step was when I was coming back to work. And I said, okay, well, let's just compromise. I said, I'll come back after the funeral. I said, my dad's flying into town. I'm going to spend some time with my kids, and just try to heal my broken heart as much as I can before I go get back on an ambulance. So decision was made. I wasn't going back to work till after the funeral. But at first, like during this conversation, the pushback I was getting was that, oh, well, you're not legally his wife. I said, okay, I'm a provider in this system and this is work related. So why the fuck am I getting told, like, no, you don't get bereavement because you're not his wife? And I was like, okay, that's whatever. Come to find out, even though they were in the process of a divorce and everybody knew they were in the process of a divorce, they turned around and gave his ex-wife like all the bereavement or whatever. From what I heard, I don't know how true that is, third-party information. So it was established, I was going back to go talk to my kid, and I grabbed Aaron. I said, because he knows Aaron, he knows all my friends, and so we have to tell him. So I walked back there, and at the time, which this may not have been the best decision, but I was working with what I had.
Mm-hmm.
I told my son, I sat him down. I said, hey, I said, I got to talk to you. And so I'm sitting on my son's bed with him. Aaron's sitting like in his game chair, and we're talking to him. And I said, something happened today. And I'll explain why in hindsight this probably wasn't the best way to do this, but I didn't know what else to do. Because how do you explain suicide to a teenager that only saw him happy and, loving on his mom and hanging out with him and hanging out with his sisters? Like he never really saw him having a bad day. So I told him, I said, there was an accident at work. He said, what do you mean? I said, Nolan got hurt at work. He kind of looked at me and I said, he passed away. I said, he didn't make it. And my son just looked at me shocked. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I said, and I was in shock and I'm trying to comfort him. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, he got hurt at work. It was a work accident. I said, but I was with him. I said, he wasn't alone. I said, and he told me how much he loved you guys. And because he did, he adored my kids, and that was part of the last conversation. And my son just looked at me. I said, do you have any questions? You want to talk? Like, because he's like I am, he'll kind of shut down for a minute and just kind of has to process. And he said, no. And I said, okay. I said, well, we've got a lot of people that are coming or that are here, because this is why they're here. So I said, I need you to just kind of hang out, let the adults do what they need to do, and then I'll come in and we'll talk more. I'll answer any of your questions. He said, okay. And it was probably about 3 days that my son wouldn't talk to anybody. Like we'd go in and check on him. I'd be like, hey, like, you want to come out watch movies in my room? Like, what do you need from me? Trying to be a mom and going through my own heartbreak. It was very hard to juggle.
Yeah, that's tough.
It was, because I could see the heartbreak on his face. Like that was his buddy. Like they were always messing with each other, usually ganging up on me. That was his buddy. And I know Aaron went back there and talked to him and said something along the lines of, here's my cell phone number. He said, your mom's going to be a mess for a while. He said, but if you need anything, you call me. He said, I'll come get you. He said, I'll come get her. He was like, he's like, you basically going to see your mom breaking down for a little while. It's part of life, but if you need anything, call me. So he shut down. We went about our way just trying to deal with the chaos that ensued afterwards, which there's multiple people involved in that, including his old partner. We're not even going to get into that part, but that'll send me into a rage. But with the ex-wife and his poor parents are dealing with this, and his dad didn't even know about me because he wasn't fully divorced, and his dad is fairly religious, and he was like, I haven't told my dad about you yet because I'm not going to hear the end of it. So that's fair. Whatever you're gonna do. His mom knew. His mom and stepdad knew, and they just didn't know me. So there was no real communication there until, I did talk to them, but I didn't know them.
Yeah.
So in the midst of all this, I'm dealing with work, and I get told that I have to apply for FMLA.
What's that?
It's a family medical leave of absence. So it's basically just protects your job. Like it's not paid leave. And so I had just taken a vacation because my dad had just come to town. So I had like minimal PTO left. And I'm looking at like a week and a half off work, and I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do? And I was like, well, fuck FMLA. I was like, let me just see if anybody will donate PTO. Let me just go from there. And I was told, and now mind you, this was a phone call. I don't have receipts on this one. But the same manager that was here, she said, nope, the CEO said that you have to apply for FMLA, otherwise your job isn't protected. I'm like, why the fuck can't y'all just protect the job instead of making me go through all these hoops that I don't have the mental capacity to deal with right
Yeah.
now? Like, I'm swimming through molasses right now. I don't know what the fuck's going on. And so she's like, nope, this is what you have to do. So my therapist did her thing, got my FMLA for acute PTSD. Um, I could take off. She was like, you can take off as much time as you want. She's like, you just tell me. So, well, I'm a single mom of 3, so no, I cannot just take off as much time as I want. Like, I got to go back to work. And so, I'm trying to get that sorted. And this is the day after he died that I'm trying to figure all this shit out. I did go to therapy the day after he died, and that was a whole different session. My dad flew in, so he died on Wednesday. Thursday went to therapy. Friday, my dad got to town, like first thing in the morning. My best friend went to go get him because I was like, I can't drive right now. I'm not leaving the house. And I will never forget it that my dad walked in the door and I could see the heartbreak on his face that, as a parent, I can't even imagine. And all I could remember was the desperation in his voice on the phone when I talked to him that day. And I remember he buried his wife in 2016, and I watched his heartbreak.
Mm.
And we had this like unspoken recognition of just like we got each other at that moment. And when I tell you, my dad bust through that fucking door like the Kool-Aid man and just snatched me up and hugged me and sat there and cried with me. And he was just like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. And he asked me again, he said, please tell me you're going to survive this. And both times he asked me that, how do you tell your dad that I don't know if I'm going to, because it felt like my heart was being crushed. Like there were days I couldn't breathe. Like, how do I explain that to him? And so I didn't. I just said, yeah, I'm fine. No, I'm okay. And he stayed here until after the funeral. And he's like I am. He's a busybody. That man went out, started doing yard work and like washing my windows. And I'm like, do you want a honeydew list? Like, so he was a lot of help when he was here. And he entertained my kids. And so Friday, I went up to go get my girls from their dad. And they didn't know any of this. And Nolan usually went with me to pick up the girls. And they get in my Jeep. And my youngest goes, where's Nolan? I said, we're going to talk when we get home, okay? My oldest, she's in the front seat, and she's looking at me, and she's like, what do you mean we're going to talk when we get home? And I was like, can we just wait till we get home? Mind you, we have a 40-minute drive. Mm-hmm. So it was a very long car ride. This is,
breathe. You're all right. Breathe.
We get in the house, and I've got my middle one sitting in the chair, and my son wouldn't come out of his room for this. Like, he wanted no part of this conversation. And I have my youngest in my lap, and she's 5. And I told him, I said, there was a work accident. I said, Nolan got hurt really bad. And my middle one, she picked up on what I was saying. I said, he passed away. My youngest is like, what does that mean? And I'm like, I said, well, that means he's with the angels now. And my 5-year-old looked at me and she goes, what do you mean? I said, Nolan died. I said, he's not coming home anymore. And she looked at me and all she said was, but he's my best friend.
Mm.
And my middle one is very much like I am. She's not the emotional type. She doesn't cry very often. At the time, she does now, because I'm pretty sure she's like hormonal or something. But at the time, she didn't really wear her heart on her sleeve. And she just looked at me, and the shock on her face and just immediate tears. And she said, what do you mean he's not coming home? And she's like, he's supposed to be here. And it was devastating. I mean, absolutely heartbreaking. And, my dad sat in here with us and we're trying to comfort them and explain, it's part of life, right? So that was the whole thing. We fast forward to the funeral. That was the following. Oh, with the FMLA too, that was the other thing. They told me on the phone that if FMLA got denied, which I found out later on is it's up to like the company's approval if they approve what my therapist is saying. I believe that's how it goes. Don't quote me on that. Um, if FMLA got denied, basically I could lose my job.
Damn.
I was gonna get hit for like we get attendance points. And she was telling me this, and I don't think I misinterpreted anything. She was just like, this is just job protection. And I'm like, why in the flying fuck can y'all not just wave a magic wand instead of, oh, well, we have no control over it? No, you really do. You have all the control over it.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't even need FMLA at this point. Like you guys, now if I was taking like a month off or something, yes. I said, I don't need this. Like, I just tell me I have the fucking week and a half off with no repercussions. Like, I feel like that's something you could do, but what do I know? I just worked there. So we're getting ready for this funeral. Mind you, I've never met his family in person. Well, from my understanding, and this came from his dad, the ex-wife was pissed because she had control over everything still. Because on paper, she had 30 days left as his wife. So in Texas, it's a 60-day non-contested divorce. You have to stay married for 60 days while they like process paperwork, basically. And he said that she was pretty pissed and that she did not want me there. And I told his family, I said, I'm not here to cause drama or problems. I said, I can go see his gravesite another time. I said, I knew what he was to me. I don't need a fucking funeral to say goodbye to him. I got the last few minutes with him. And his dad, I'll never forget it. I was standing in my closet and his dad said, baby girl, you're more than welcome to be there. And the way he said, baby girl, sounded exactly like Nolan. When I tell you, I hit the fucking ground. And I was like,
I would have.
oh, it was like getting hit by a freight train. And his dad goes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I said, no, I don't think you understand why I'm crying. And he's like, I didn't mean to like offend you, whatever. I said, no. I said, you just sounded like him. And I never thought I'd hear that again. So yeah, that was an emotional train wreck. But
Yeah,
so
that one's getting me.
it was a lot. And how do you process, like, you're not prepared for that? A voice I never
Absolutely
thought,
not.
like,
Fuck no.
oh my God, I didn't even know what to say. I just immediately started sobbing. And his poor dad is just like, oh God, I'm sorry. Like, what? I don't know what I said. And I was like, let me catch my breath and I'll explain. So that was emotional. First time I met his dad, I had Nolan's gun safe here in my closet, and his dad came to get it. And I met him in my garage, and we're standing there, and his dad looks at me like all serious, and he's like, Kayla, I got to tell you something. And Nolan used to fuck with me all the time, mind you, get real serious and like drop some bomb. And I'm sitting there like, what do you need to tell me? And he puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, you have got to be the prettiest woman I have ever seen my son with. And I'm like in my garage going, did you have to say it like that? Like, did you have
Damn.
to give me a heart attack? So that's how I met his dad. Got to the funeral. First time I met his mom. So Nolan was a firefighter too. First time I met his mom was standing in front of his fire engine red casket with him behind.
Okay. Shit. Shit. Woo. Those hurt.
Yeah, that was, and it, as a mom, I mean, how do you process her grief? Like watching, not only was this woman the woman that raised the man that took the absolute most great care of me.
Yeah.
How do you process meeting that life force with the love of your life in a casket behind you? Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And so I did end up getting to go to the funeral. His dad went to bat for me and told, basically, from what he told his ex-wife that, everyone has a right to come say goodbye.
Absolutely.
And so that was a whole nother set of issues. But I went, it was a beautiful service. I I hung back. I definitely steered clear of like letting her have her moment because they were together for a long time. They're together like 7 years, and she had every right to grieve him too. But I was doing it quietly. After the funeral, his mentor when he was at the fire department, his wife reached out. I didn't know who this woman was. I had no fucking clue. And she sends me a message on Facebook and she goes, blah, blah, blah. This is how I know Nolan. She goes, I want you to know that I know exactly who you are. She said, and your grief deserves to be acknowledged just like everyone else's. And I lost it. Yeah, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're
You know,
fucking with me now, dude.
I told you it was a roller coaster. So she ended up putting me in touch with her husband, who was Nolan's fire mentor, and him and I sat on the phone for like probably 3 hours. And I told him the whole story because obviously he's a firefighter, he's a paramedic. He was the first person that I told the story start to finish to, just in graphic detail, because he wanted to know. Most of us are why people. We want all the details so we can figure out the puzzle that goes together. And I tell you, he has checked on me regularly since this all happened. And I've never met them in person just because, life is chaotic, whatever. They have been nothing but sweet and kind to me. There was another fire wife that she reached out as well. And they were also kind to me. And I can't thank them enough for that because they are a big reason why I didn't completely go off the deep end. Just knowing that people cared about me because of him kept me a little more stable, somewhat. Um, so we get to this funeral, these conversations are happening. I'm realizing how many good people are surrounding me.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck it, I'm going back to work. And the Monday after his funeral, I had to fight to get on this shift. Like I was begging, bargaining, and pleading to get on the shift, right? It was Nolan's shift.
Oof.
So my first shift back was his, and I got to work with Aaron. And I had talked to Aaron about it, and I said, I need to come back because he was a paramedic. He just hadn't upgraded in our system yet.
Yeah.
He just graduated. And I told him, I said, I need someone that's going to babysit my ass because I don't know that I'm ready to come back to work, but I don't have a choice. And he said, I got you. The amount of times this man has said to me, I got you through this whole process, like I can't even count at this point. So I go back to work. Oh, he went back to work about 3 days after Nolan died. First patient he transported, would you like to know?
Just tell me. I won't. I know it's gonna be something great.
A self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest from an AR-15. Somehow the guy survived and they were transporting him to a bigger hospital.
Shit.
How fucked up is that?
I mean, I don't know. Like for me, once again, you got to see the beauty and shit that you don't want to see it in. That's baptized by fire.
Well, Aaron's one of those people that he just attracts the what the fuck calls
Yeah.
anyways. So he calls me and he was like, we do the tough love thing. There's like no boundaries with us. And he's like, you want to know how fucked up my luck is? I was like, oh God, what? And so he tells me, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. My partner that I was with, we were partners for a year and a half. And he said it was like one of the first couple shifts he was back at work after Nolan died because they gave him a couple days off because he worked him. And he said that the first call he ran, or not first call, but it was like the first couple days. Boyfriend called, said, "Hey, my girlfriend sent me a picture. She got a gun to her head, and she said she's gonna kill herself." The PD was there, and they were waiting in the parking lot trying to get through the door, and they heard the shot in the parking lot. And he had to run that call, and it was almost identical to Nolan's.
Mm.
I was like, holy fuck. I was like, maybe I shouldn't go back to work yet. And so I ended up going back. And then I worked, it was a couple shifts later. And this is the everything happens for a reason thing this might actually make you cry a little bit.
Everything else has might as well be one more damn thing.
So we get these call notes, and it's like a 17-year-old girl. She's barricaded in her room, actively trying to commit suicide. I can't remember what it said as far as if she was like trying to like cut herself or what she was doing. So on those calls, we usually have to wait for PD to go in and clear and make sure there's no weapons, right? I did not have the clearest mindset when I went back to work. I was an emotional mess. And I looked at my partner that day, which is not somebody I regularly worked with. And I said, fuck PD. I said, I'm going in. And he was like, what? I said, I don't give a shit. And I get on the radio and I said, clear us in. And they're like, copy PD's en route. And I was like, cool, I'm not waiting. Skirt in front of this house, right? And I go running in. I looked at him. I was like, grab whatever you want or stay here. Don't give a fuck. And I go running in, and mom's in the hallway. And she's just a mess. And she's like, she's in her bedroom. Well, the door handle was busted off on both sides. So there's no way to turn the door handle. So my little MacGyver ass pops out a pocket knife. And I think I broke the latch. I'm not going to lie. Popped the latch open and like shouldered my way into this bedroom. And I walk in and I see this little baby girl. She's like my size, but she she looked exactly like Nolan did when I was on FaceTime with him.
Yeah.
She was in the fetal position and she was sobbing. And I don't get emotional at work. I usually hold off until I leave, right? My knees buckled and I hit the ground. And I remember just losing it. And dad's in there with us. Mom's behind me. They're crying. She's crying. They all kind of stopped and looked at me like, is she okay? And so I told her Nolan's story. Mind you, this was like 5 days after his funeral. And I told her, I said, you're looking at the aftermath of suicide. I said, I can tell you right now, I said, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. My kids aren't okay. I said, your mom and dad would not be okay. I said, this world is not better off without you. And so we talked, and I had her in my lap, and like we just cried together. And I said, will you let me take you to the hospital? I mean, little did she know she didn't have a choice because PD was there and they were going to take her regardless. And she's a minor. I get her in the truck and she held my hand the whole way to the hospital. I go, we get her over to the hospital bed and she goes, hey, wait. I said, what's going on? She grabbed my hand again and she said, you were supposed to be here today. She said, I'm so glad I met you.
Woo,
Yep.
you bitch.
I told you.
Oh shit.
um,
Yeah.
and she looked at me and she smiled
Ooh.
and she said, I'm happy I met you. And so she had said something about she wanted to do hair, and I've been a hairstylist on top of this for like 10 years. Saw my tattoos, and I said the next time I see you, I want to see your name like in magazines. And
Ooh.
she said you're invited to the party.
Oh shit. You're killing me.
Uh,
Like, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And like, and this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna end it right there, but we're gonna do another episode with you. Because me and you could do this all day, but we're gonna end it there. But I want it to be the reason why I want to end it there is because I think you need to realize, and anybody listening to this, that little girl was right. You were supposed to be there. You wouldn't have been there without everything lining up for you to be there. A tragedy had to happen for you to be on that shift.
I was on the complete opposite shift from my
Yeah,
normal.
that's what I'm saying. Like we get so caught up in what's happening to us that we don't realize that it's happening for us. And it's cliche. But the thing is, you were given an education in trauma and in tragedy that you could have never got in peace.
Oh, it was the hard knocks version for
Yeah, that's what
sure.
I'm saying. Like that's how you learn. Like you have something now that without that you would have never got. And now people are gonna like that little girl saw it. I can see it. Like anybody that you run into is gonna see it. Like it's like I'm telling you, there's a piece of him with you. And that's what it's supposed to be. Like this isn't supposed to be just you. Like he was supposed to come into your life, not to be I don't know what he was supposed to be while he was here in the physical form. But
Oh, he
this
came in like a fucking wrecking ball. I'm gonna tell you
well
that.
this is what it was supposed to be though. Like there's some people that are servants. There are some people that are meant to serve. And some people are meant to serve not in the physical form. I just really, really believe that there's guardian angels out there. And there's just some people that you have to be baptized by fire. You have to be molded in such a way that pain is the only way that molds you that way. Like there with what you're doing now, your next chapter is gonna be it's gonna be crazy. Like it's gonna be, and you're gonna look back at it, and like his family, you, anybody that you touch, anybody that you help moving forward, it's gonna be because of a tragedy, and that tragedy all of a sudden stops being a tragedy. Like I want you to understand that it stops being pain when you figure out why. Like that's something that all none of us get, because when you're still in the hurt, you and like all you feel is the pain of it. You don't understand why it happened. But when you have that aha moment and you get it, when that little girl said you were supposed to be here, when anybody that you help, you understand that it took that was A in the alphabet. That was game plan number one. The shittiest game plan there could have been was losing him. For me, it was me trying to commit suicide. Like people, usually the number one step in your game plan to becoming who you're supposed to be is a traumatic experience. The people who do not stay in that season of just misery and they grow from it, you're finding out who you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be an EMT. Like it might be part of what you're going to do, but that's not who you are. You wouldn't be handling this the way you're handling it. You wouldn't be having the effect on people the way that you are. Like, and it sucks, and his family and everybody else, y'all should be sad. But there's gonna come a day to where you're gonna laugh about it, not him passing, but you're gonna laugh and be like, he was here the whole time. Like he's this was his plan. Like there's some
Mom makes jokes about that because
yeah.
there's stuff all the time that it's just like that's got to be Nolan.
If you have such, this is the way I look at it. If you have such a servant's heart, and it sounds like he did, what is more glorifying, to help one person a day or to help 100 a day? Is it more gratifying to help 1,000 people in your life or to help 1,000,000 because of your story? If you have a servant's heart and you're an angel, like, yeah, you might have left us too early, but you're doing things now in the spiritual form that you could have never done. Like, that dude's putting you and everybody else in position to help others. How do you beat that? Like, it's not a tragedy. It's not a tragedy once it becomes a miracle. It's a tragedy until you understand.
It's definitely a process trying to figure out that understanding and I did the why the fuck did this happen to me,
Yeah.
or why the fuck did this happen to him, like, or my kids, like I was that was the anger part of it, and
Yeah.
now that I'm seeing, I'm making connections and friendships with people that I probably never would. The fire department that I work at on the side, that application was supposed to be his,
Yeah.
and because we were both going to apply, and I was like, because he's the firefighter, I'm not, and I was like, all right, I'm not going to apply, like it's all yours, right? And it was one of those things that like a month after he died, I was like, fuck it, just fuck it, I'm turning it in, and I did, and I got the job like immediately,
Yeah.
and it's the best decision I ever made. Like they've offered me more support than I got from my full-time job.
Yeah.
And the lady that I made a contact with, I went in and asked her, finally, this is about a month ago. I said, I need some extra help. Like, I know the chief said, I know you didn't work here at the time. We didn't know Nolan, but if you need resources, you let us know. And I finally said, you know what, fuck it. I need a backup plan
Yeah.
just in case. And she pulled out a pamphlet and she goes, my mom committed suicide in January. I'm talking months apart from Nolan. She goes, I was on shift. And I said, well, let me send you the story that I wrote out with everything. The first text message I got from her, she goes, I've been struggling so bad with like my feelings and my emotions. She goes, reading that story, she's like, I know it's not the same, but it's similar. She's like, but your feelings on it, your grief and your anger and the trauma that comes with it. She goes, I thought I was crazy. She's like, I thought I was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And sorry, my dog decided to join the party.
You're good.
But she said, she's like, she goes, I hate that someone else's heart hurts the same way, but it's comforting for me to know that I wasn't losing my mind. that this is like the new fucked up normal for this situation. And I'm like, yeah, it's a shitty normal, but you just kind of adjust to it. And
Well,
she, how you
you're
did.
you're normalizing it. You're normalizing it to be okay, not to be okay.
Mhm.
That's what you're doing. Like it is fucked up situations, but you're normalizing to take the fucked up and turn it into something positive. To where a lot of people want to stay in that misery. They want to stay in that poor pitiful me. But the thing is the bad things already happened.
Mhm.
You know, even with that little girl, anytime you get down or anytime somebody else gets down, think about this. Do you think Nolan would rather be here? You think that he would rather that little girl met you that day?
He would have picked that little girl every time.
And she wouldn't have met you that day, he would have been here. Like you have, if you reason stuff out like that, like it does, it sucks. But at the same time, what's happening is supposed to happen. Like, yeah, there's bad shit that happens every single day,
Oh, yes.
but there's good in it if you allow to see it. Like, and there's not in everything. Now, there's some shit that's just straight up just horrible,
Mm.
but there's a lot of stuff like that that you can take it and you can turn it into something. And I believe with him and a lot of other things, a lot of these organizations that we work with, they took the worst day of their life and their family's lives and their friends' life, and they turned it into saving people and helping people and being servants, having a servant's heart and being angels here on earth. Like that's way cooler.
Well, and a lot of things with us too, like with first responders, I've noticed. Oh,
Well,
that was
okay.
my daughter's the only, my kids are the only ones that can get through on do not disturb. So I'm like, what? Um, but the one thing I've noticed is, so much of us, like people, I get told, which it makes me so uncomfortable when people, I'm just that weird person that like, Ricky Bobby, if I don't undo my hands. And people are like, oh my God, you're a hero. And I'm like, I'm a fucking degenerate that just knows how to play with drugs, if we're being
Yeah,
honest.
I'm the same.
And I'm just like, no. But thanks. But I realize that like we do take care of so many other people
Yeah.
that when it's time to take care of ourselves, we're like, oh my God.
We're about done because we're
Yeah,
about to, it's about to run out of enough time to put it for one episode. That's why we're having to be done. But
no worries.
but I'll tell you what, look, tell them your social media handles because I want them to go follow you. I want them to be able to reach out to you. And then what we're gonna do is I'm in Nashville all next week, but when
Mhm.
I get back the following week, we're gonna do a part two to this. So
Oh,
everybody's got something to look forward to before the end of the month to hear you again.
all right. I can do that.
Do,
It's
do you know your TikTok and
covered.
Instagram or whatever?
Yes. So Instagram, that one I don't really use as much, but on TikTok it's Madhouse89.
Madhouse 89. Well, I want to tell you something before we get off here. You're an incredibly strong woman, first off. It has been a pleasure talking with you. You are a very special woman, too. I know that you're hurting right now and everything, but you have something very special that's been placed on your heart. And I am very excited to see what's going to happen with you because I really do believe the way that I think something was given to me years ago with a tragedy and a lot of the people that I love and care about. I think this was something that was given to you that it might not feel like a gift because it hurts so bad right now, but you're going to help a lot of people. You're going to change some people's lives and let them feel that it's not that this okay to feel the way that they're feeling. And you're going to be a support system and you're going to build something to where people in your line of work don't have to feel like they're at the end of their rope anymore. I know it. Like, I don't know how to tell you I know it, but like, you're going to do something special because of this tragedy. I just hope you know that.
That's the goal, even if it's just one person that hears this
That's all that
from.
matters. That's all that matters. Saving one life is probably all that Nolan wanted.
And I'll be doing mental health check-ins on your ass now too. You're stuck with me. Sorry about
That's,
you.
that's cool. I don't give a shit. I need all the help I can get. But anyway, thank you so much. And I cannot wait till we do our next one.
Thank you. And I will definitely, I'm excited for it.
Hell yeah. Well, folks, please go follow her. on all her social media, whatever the hell she just dropped a while ago. And well, we're gonna do another episode with her because this was too good. And please check in on the people that you love. If you see them act in any type of way that's just out of the regular, be a friend, reach out. Even if you think you're in the wrong, just check on them. Tell them you love them. Sometimes that's all that matters. And to all our first responders, all our veterans, everybody that actually does a service to this country, I love y'all. Thank you for everything that you do. If you need help, there's help out there. Please look it up online. And to each and every one of y'all, I love you. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.